The last time you saw my Civic, it was ripping VTEC at Gingerman Raceway. It was also ripping the exhaust right around the rear trailing arm. Wow. Other than that, it did quite well at its first competitive event. It finished 5th in class out of 18, and now I'm hooked. I want to do what I can to make this car more competitive and have a shot at getting on the podium. Obviously, seat time and driver skill are the most important, but in addition to that, I'm going to do a few things to Mia to make her even faster at the next event in a few weeks. Let's get started by fixing that spaghetti noodle exhaust. So we have a new exhaust pipe welded up. We've actually routed it up a little bit higher than where it was before because I'm going to put a rear sway bar on here. We want to make sure that we have some fitment for that sway bar to go in there. So we've routed the pipe up a little bit higher, but we've also made the joint a little bit further back. So the previous joint was kind of up here, and when the tire dipped off the track there, obviously it caught on that. So I figure if it's further back, the joint will be closer to the tire, so the tire will prevent it from getting caught because you know, you'll have the pivot point of that wheel pushing up on the car. We've gone with a V-band joint, so it's not a slip joint, so it's not just gonna like slip off. It's actually gonna be fixed together with a nice clamp. Yep, we're back to sounding like a typical Honda now. Now it's time to do a little bit of weight reduction. I didn't film too much of this because it was a lot of little stuff. I removed the passenger airbag, a rear support bar that's not needed because of my roll bar, a little more sound netting removal, among other things. Altogether, I removed 63 pounds off of the car. The car was very floaty on the front end. It wasn't very direct. It was really darty. And I think the reason for that is because EKs don't have a lot of caster. Now, what caster is the up and down direction like that. Now, when you lower an EK, apparently it loses some of the caster. So I have less caster than factory. And that's not good because caster is what gives the car stability at high speeds. And this car is not very stable at high speeds. So I need to add more caster to help that sit back a little bit. I think it's supposed to be around 5 degrees. So I got a white line caster kit to help give the car more high speed stability. Basically what it does is it adds a bolt here, a longer bolt, and then you add these little shims, washers basically, to space out the control arm to kind of change the angle of that control arm to push the bottom end of the wheel forward or backwards. Also, my power steering was acting up, so I replaced the pump. And while it was in there, I replaced the power steering line with a nice AN line from K24 to clean up the engine bay. I also put on a larger power steering cooler to help keep the fluid temps down on track. Now it's almost time to compete at the next event. But there's one last thing that I need to do before then. This is Mike Lewin. He's the closest thing to a modern-day Einstein when it comes to vehicle engineering. I'm at his shop in Indiana the day before the next Gridlife event because I'm getting some different tire temperature sensors installed on the car. These tire temp sensors are next level. They read a 16-channel signal per tire to read live temps across the whole tread and data log that signal to my AIM dash.
This is the Professional Awesome CIRT, which is an array type temp sensor. So right here we have 16 positions possible. So there's actually 16 locations that this is actually measuring. It's actually measured more than that, but it can measure 16 across the tire. So to visualize that, we have all 16 channels set up here as well as an ambient temperature. So the sensor actually reads a temperature as well. So then if your tire gets warmer, basically across the tire you'll start seeing a hot spot. And so the soldering iron is the hot spots across the tire. So it'll get warmer or colder depending, so you can check for alignment, camber, all that stuff. Make sure you're not getting too hot. It's completely programmable. You can have it read anything you want all the way up to brake temps. You can read that high, and then as well as 4 of these will tell you everything you need to know about your alignment and your setup.
Mike and Dan run Professional Awesome, where they develop cool stuff like these tire temp sensors. They're also big into aerodynamic design, but because my class limited aftermarket aero, I have to stick with what I've got. Thankfully, I can run these tire temp sensors and monitor my temps across the tire to help get my car set up better at each track that I go to make sure I'm maximizing everything I can out of my tire grip. Believe it or not, these sensors actually come straight from Formula 1 cars. They're extremely durable and extremely accurate. Mike and Dan are using my car as one of their early prototype tests, but they'll be available for sale soon on their website for those that are interested. This isn't a sponsored ad, I just think that they're incredible and more people should use them.
So here we are at Gridlife Autobahn, and we're doing the South Course configuration. In previous years, we do multiple configurations, but this year, it's just South Course. Which is good because South Course is more of a corner speed friendly track. So the cars that have more horsepower don't have as much of an advantage here as the cars that have less horsepower, like my Honda Civic. Speaking of my Honda Civic, you might notice something on the front bumper here. The car got sideswiped last night by a trailer. It's kind of disappointing, but the guy's super friendly about it. He's gonna pay for, painting up the bumper again. It's fine, it's a track car anyway, right? Well, that session didn't go very well. I didn't even turn a full lap before I went off track. Apparently there was a puddle and I missed the puddle. The tires went from 200 degrees to 140 degrees in like a matter of a second, which is a clear indication that I hit something that cooled the tire off and I didn't have enough grip to go around the corner. It's wild, I was on throttle. You can hear in the video clip, I was on throttle going around the corner and it still oversteered on me. So that puts me in, last place. For the next session, that means I grid in the absolute back of the pack. So I am behind the spec fits. So it'll be an interesting next session, but hopefully I can avoid the puddles.
After a few sessions out on track, I got some clear laps and managed to turn a 136.6, which beats the front-wheel drive class record by 1/10 of a second, and it puts me closer to the overall class podium.
Woo! Man, what a good day. I just got out, did 4 seconds faster than my last session, which is phenomenal. This session, they gave us a ton of laps. I think there's some more time out there. I think I can get it down to a 35, maybe.
I'm still 3 seconds away from winning the overall class, but I broke the front-wheel drive class record, and I'm 0.4 seconds ahead of my buddy Mark, so I'm happy. But I know Mark's fast, so at this point, I want to do everything that I can to stay ahead of him. The track conditions were good, but I couldn't shave off any more time. Mark passed me and completed a lap half a second faster than me. I couldn't let him beat me. I started to push the car hard, which is unfortunately not a good way to get a faster lap time. I started to look over some of my data with the aim dash and tire temp sensors. Thanks to Pro Awesome, we found some setup changes that I could make to go faster. I decided to put on a larger 80mm throttle body that I got from K-Tuned. This increased the horsepower of the car by 7 wheel horsepower at the cost of a little bit of throttle response. But I feel comfortable enough with the car now that I don't think that this will detract from my lap times. I threw the throttle body on and Andy flashed a quick tune and we're good to go.
Well, I wasn't able to go any faster, so the overall time for the Civic is a 136.6, and that's gonna be it. That's gonna lock it in. The street class car guys are just so much faster than I am. Brandon in that E36 M3 with the S54 engine he's 4 seconds faster than me, so nowhere near Brandon or Austin Hurdle in 370Z. Those guys are really, really fast, but I'm gonna keep working to improve the car, and we'll see what it does at the next event.
I may have just broken the front-wheel drive class record, but I want the overall class record. So I'm going to continue honing my driver skills. but I'm gonna need more grip, less weight, and more power if I have any chance at getting on the podium. It's time to step it up to the big leagues. I need more tire underneath my car, which means I need bigger wheels. So I got these forged Titan 7 wheels for the car. These wheels are a 17-inch by 9. With this size, I'm able to run a much wider and taller 255 Falcon tire. However, it requires a lot of work to get that large of a tire to fit. This tire is 2 inches taller in diameter than my old setup and 1.2 inches wider. I originally didn't want to run this large of a wheel, but when I saw these Titan 7 wheels weigh 13.9 pounds each, the same weight as my current 15 inches, I had to go for it. If the only downside is creating clearance for it and I get to run faster lap times, it's worth it for me. I got the fronts to fit up pretty nicely, but the rears were a much more difficult task. Unfortunately, I only filmed that on Instagram story. Also, after waiting 2 months for shipping and backordered items, I finally got my new steering wheel in. This is a Momo Monte Carlo steering wheel. It's the exact same brand that Spoon Sports uses for their steering wheels. The diameter is about the same as my Type R wheel, but this one is a little bit lighter with no airbag. I think it looks a lot cleaner too. Speaking of cleaner, I've got a few items to put on to clean this car up a bit. This car is now lighter, cleaner, and faster than it's ever been. It's ready for the next event at Pikes Peak International Raceway. I hope this video helped give you some insight into what goes on behind the scenes of a time attack event. There's often a lot more happening than what you see in our track battle videos. I'm excited to bring you all along for it, and I can't wait to show you the next event.